This is Leilani Mitchell, and you're listening to the 3-Point Conversion.
Davonte Hughes, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Davonte Hughes from Georgia Sports Hospitality Media. We know last season was sort of up and down, especially with COVID and everything had started. I wanted to know, what did you learn from that season, and what are you going to take into this next season?
What did I learn? I mean, last year was in general a year that, is just, I don't know that you will ever replicate a year with the pandemic and the racial injustice and all of the things that we were dealing with in and out of the bubble. And so, I mean, some of it was, is just being persistent last year. It was, finding ways to stay positive, keeping players motivated in the midst of, being away from their friends and family. And so, I don't know that there's key takeaways other than, I felt like we were a team that was playing our best basketball at the end. And so a lot of what we have to do with this team this year is the same kind of thing. We have to put the pieces together. They've got to learn to play together and really understand each other. And, we're going to start that way defensively. We've got to have defensive synergy. We've got to play with pace, but efficiency and share the basketball. And so I think, training camp this year feels better, even though, look, we're still not back to normal. I mean, COVID testing and rapid result testing and all the things that we're doing to stay safe and do things the right way makes things more complicated. But ultimately, we had 13 people in practice today, 12 actually, but, ultimately, we should have 14 tomorrow and then maybe 15. And so just having extra bodies and being able to really get runs up and down. I mean, a year ago, we were in camp with 9 players with Glory out, Kalani out, Courtney not in the bubble yet. We didn't even have a real training camp. So it feels good to be able to really coach this team, to challenge them, to make them get in shape, to go up and down. And so, just excited about kind of moving day to day and seeing progress with this group.
Spencer Nussbaum, go ahead.
Hi, Coach. Could you just kind of generally talk about what the first day of practice looked like, as well as, what the things you're looking for at this stage of training camp kind of looked like?
Yeah, I mean, our 2 goals today were to play hard and have a high level of communication. There's going to be mistakes the first day of training camp. And we've got some players that have, been back from overseas for a week, and we have players who've been back from overseas for a month, and we have players that didn't go overseas. So we have varying levels of conditioning. And so some of it is learning to play. And I'm not a big believer in just getting on the line and running and conditioning them in some kind of old fashioned way. I mean, I think they get in shape by playing. And if you do things right, if you cut hard, if you run hard in each drill, you're going to get in playing shape better than if we just said, okay, we're going to run a suicide or we're going to run down and backs. And so, some of it is just, making them play through mental fatigue, trying to get them to not make mistakes. But really, if we're going to make mistakes, we're going to do them because we're being aggressive. And so a lot of today was just, some offensive stuff, a lot of transition offense, a lot of transition defense, a little bit of breakdown. But, for them to just start playing. I mean, we played a considerable amount of 5-on-5, not just up and down for 20 minutes, with breaks and teaching and all of that. But, for them to learn to play, like I'm a big believer and I want to call less plays and I want to let them play more. But being willing to do that, you have to get them to understand how to play from one action to the next. So, that was the goal of the day for the most part, and I thought our pace was great. I thought we made too many mistakes, and you're always going to early in camp. Balls fly around the gym a lot. But if they're doing it in an aggressive way, you can take that as a coach. And if they're being coachable, then I'm okay. If they don't consistently make the same mistakes over and over again.
For those just joining, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand. I'll call on you. Next question's from B. Terrell. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Coach. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
All right. Now, does this make, with you having the majority of your roster available, a lot of times some teams enter training camp with 5 or 6 players missing. How does it feel this particular season, with the exception of a couple players, to have almost everyone there and ready to go, and I guess the implementation of your system that you want to run this year?
Yeah, I mean, I've said that, to our new ownership group as recent as last night, that, I think there are teams that are probably starting training camp with 5 or 6 players that will make their roster still overseas. So incredibly grateful for the opportunity to start building these blocks, and doing things the right way, establishing a culture from day one, with a group that, certainly players have protected contracts and players are fighting for roster spots. But there's not going to be a lot of coming and going. We have 2 players in Yvonne Turner and Tiffany Hayes that are overseas. So, I told them today at the end of practice, like, I don't need to make any cuts this week. I'm not going to be in that situation. And so, I challenged them. I said, I'm not going to make any cuts unless you give me a reason to cut you. And if you're not making practice better and if you're, not being coachable or you're not making us a better team, then I would consider cutting. But I think at this point, it's about, getting to build from the beginning. And it reminds me a lot of my first year here, where we had everybody in camp on time except Angel. And that was a big part of kind of building the synergy of that group, is having everybody from the start, and I think it's easier as a coach when you have your core group with you from the beginning. So you're not trying to teach to players that you're going to have to cut in 3 or 4 days. And it's the reality of our profession, and it's the tough part of it. But it's a lot easier to know, hey, I'm going to coach the heck out of these guys, and we're going to figure out, which 11 or 12 are the right ones for us.
All right, we'll go back to Spencer Nussbaum for the last question. Go ahead, Spencer.
Sure. I know you said it's kind of hard to evaluate, but I'll ask you the question anyway. Was there someone today who kind of stood out, whether you were expecting it or not, whether they were, more in shape than you expected, or well-conditioned, high personality, things like that?
Well, I think our team all realized today that Aerie and Odyssey are fast with the basketball, certainly. So I think that was a good thing to see them play fast and control their teams. And I think whatever team Tiana Hawkins is on is going to run actions the right way. I mean, she's just a true professional. She knows when to space. She knows when to screen. So I think ultimately she's someone that's going to help lead this group, kind of our younger players. But I thought in general, we had a generally good day. I mean, I think if you were going to say, not who is the surprise, we've been doing individual workouts for the last 3 or 4 days, but I would tell you that Kaela Collen, has a professional body and a professional skill set. So as far as somebody that people aren't talking about, she's someone that, I saw play and Courtney's, above the rim event, and kind of like rang a bell in my head. Like, yeah, I remember watching her at Cal. We needed a wing, and she did an incredible job today. So if there was a surprise in terms of someone who's, ready to compete and give us something in camp that maybe was unexpected, I would certainly say her.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
All right. We've got Elizabeth Williams here. If you have a question for her, go ahead and raise your hand. I'll call on you. Davonte Hughes, we'll start with you.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. My question was, with you coming back and definitely going to be the anchor of this team, I want to know, what are your expectations for this season?
My expectations are really high, actually. I know that we have a lot of new faces, a lot of different pieces, but I think that they're all great. And I think that even if early on we're still learning each other, I think we can ultimately do really well by the end of the season.
Everyone just joining, if you have a question for Elizabeth, please raise your hand. Jen Hatfield, we'll go to you. Go ahead, Jen.
Hi, Elizabeth. Happy first day of training camp. If you'll indulge me, I actually had a Duke-related question for you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Your former coach, Coach P, she published a book recently on her experience with bipolar disorder, and I was just curious, what your reaction to that was when you heard she was writing a book, and then, if there's anything that stands out to you that you learned from her about self-care or mental health or just general, well-being off the court.
Yeah, I haven't read her book yet. I know it came out, and we follow each other on Twitter, so we see everything that's going on. But I think it's great that she is sharing her story and sharing her journey. I think obviously talking about mental health is a priority, and she's done a good job of telling people that it's okay to not be okay and to talk about these things. So I think that's pretty cool.
B. Terrell, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Elizabeth. With you being one of the long-term dream players on the roster now, how does it feel when your first day of training camp, go ahead and really help the others who may not necessarily be familiar with the culture of Atlanta to kind of lead that charge?
Yeah, I just do what I can. I don't over talk. I think sometimes people get in the habit of almost coaching. But I just try to, talk on the sideline or give advice in that way, and also just lead by example. Going hard, communicating, being a really good teammate. I think those things can carry really far, and I think rookies learn a lot from that too.
All right, last call for questions. Cool, thanks, E. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we've got Kaela Davis here. We'll start with Davonte Hughes. Go ahead.
Hey, Kaela, how are you doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. My question is for you. If I remember correctly, I think you joined a little late last season. I wanted to know, what are your takeaways from the first day?
Yeah, I did. I did join a little late last season. But yeah, it's a great group. There's a ton of different pieces. That obviously we'll kind of have to see how they all work together. But there's a really high energy team, really positive. And it was just an overall good day. I think obviously it's first day jitters, so everyone kind of is getting that out of their system. But yeah, it was a really high energy and just fun day.
B. Terrell, go ahead.
Hey, Katie, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing well. So kind of to follow up on that question a little bit, obviously this is a place you can consider home. Started your career here at Georgia Tech, and then obviously went on to South Carolina. You had a phenomenal season overseas recently. So how does it feel to be back in a place that of like family and friends can really get a chance to see you up close and personal, potentially?
Yeah, of course. It means everything. To be in Atlanta is, something you dream of doing, right? Like I remember having conversations about, especially with like my mom and my parents, I would always get the emails because we were signed up for season tickets. So to see your name like pop up in the email, it's pretty cool. So, really right now it's just a matter of kind of translating, like you said, what I was doing overseas, just into play over here.
Spencer Nussbaum, go ahead.
Hi, Kaela. Glad to hear that you're doing well, obviously. I'm curious to hear if there's anything you feel that you've sort of added to your game over the offseason now that you're back in the States.
This offseason I played a lot more forward. I think that's kind of what I was really described as a four. So, obviously it's a lot more kind of back to the basket, just kind of banging a lot more than I think I, normally do. But, just kind of where I'm playing now, I'm kind of in this shifty little 3-4 spot. So I think it'll be something that pays off here, and, just kind of shooting the three better, getting back to consistently hitting the three, at a higher percentage.
And last question, we'll go to Danny Thompson. Go ahead, Danny.
Kaela, Danny Thompson with 3-point conversion. Welcome back to Atlanta. For those who have not seen your game, and it's been a while since they've probably seen you play, what will Dream fans expect from you on a nightly basis that you're going to bring to the table?
Yeah, I think just a lot of versatility. Like I said, it's not just one thing. Once again, just kind of getting back to shooting the three better. A lot of attacking the rim, but like I said, I'll be at the three and in some places, at the four in some places. So just maybe a little bit everywhere.
All right. Thanks, Kaela. Thanks everyone for joining.